that Lucy and Peter have, well, I think by the time you're hearing me, they will have recorded the first episode of their new bear podcast, Let It Rip.
Let it rip.
Let it
Let it
rip.
rip.
And
Let it
when are you
rip.
letting it rip? Like, when's it going to be
Hopefully early
out?
next week.
Early
Yeah,
next week.
hopefully
Okay.
Monday. We'll see how we do with the editing. It turns out like producing a podcast with your other half is quite difficult. Um, it's not actually that difficult. We decided to set ourselves the challenge of recording some cooking first of all. So we'll see how that goes. We managed to condense it into a 5 minute bit, so fingers crossed
So
that'll
fun.
come out okay. Yeah, yeah, we made some good pastas,
Are you
so
going to
it was
keep
worth
doing
it.
that
I
potentially?
think so. I
Yeah.
think so. It depends. I don't know if we'll do it every week, but as much as we can, I think it would be fun
Hmm.
too.
I'm going up to, my son is visiting his aunt, or my aunt actually, in Fort Bragg, which is Northern California, a couple hours north of me. And so I'm going up there to pick him up tomorrow. And there's this great place called Roy's Chicago Dogs that has Italian
Ooh,
beef sandwiches. And
ooh, you
it's
should
the
get one.
best I've had in the Bay Area. So I'm totally going to go up early and get one of those.
Oh, dude, we've currently got like a big bit of beef sitting in our freezer that we need to do something with. We picked it up last weekend and we're like, yeah, so that might be my Sunday. We might be making beef sandwiches on Sunday. We'll
If
see.
you're going to be doing cooking in the Bear, you got to make that sandwich at some
We
point.
do. We do.
Yeah.
We started really easy with the spaghetti and now I'm like,
Hmm.
no, do something more complicated. So we'll see. We'll
That's
see.
fun. So anyway, go to podcastica.com if you're interested in hearing Lucy and Peter's podcast. I can't wait to listen to it
Yeah.
myself. And with that, let's get into The Walking Dead season 3, episode 1, Seed. What did you think of it watching it now after all this time?
Oh, this is like the show at its best, no?
Yeah.
Like there was an article I think on the AV Club recently about like what is your favorite season of your favorite show and why is it season three? And I think there's some science behind
That's
like
funny.
season three is usually the sweet spot for a
If
show
it
of like
makes it, if a show makes it that far, then it's probably hitting its stride.
exactly. So yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. It's a great season opener.
Hmm.
It's everything you want it to be. I'm almost worried I don't have enough to say about it because I'm just like, yeah, it's great. It's really good.
Yeah, that part was cool. That
Moving
part
on.
was cool. Remember that
Yeah,
one part?
it was fine. All those bits were really great. Yeah, cool.
I loved it more than I thought. I remembered this episode being good, but mostly I just remembered the opening scene, which was amazing. But it was more emotional of an episode than I remember uh,
Mhm.
because of how the episode was made. But also, I just felt nostalgic watching it more than I have with any of the ones we've watched before.
I feel like I remember watching this as it came out. I feel like season one I binged for sure, like on like one weekend. And then season two, I think I was vaguely maybe it had just started and I kind of caught up halfway through. But this I
Mm,
remember. I think my friend Gillian came over and we like watched it together on a projector that we had set up in our old flat 12 years ago. And yeah, it did make me very nostalgic as well for
did
like
too.
event TV. Who knew?
I mean, I really think this episode feels like more like The Walking Dead as we think of it than seasons 1 and 2 did. It's so weird to say because everyone looks back so fondly on season 1 and 2, but there's things that happen in this episode with the characterizations and the tone, and the show is settling into what The Walking Dead became in a lot of different little ways. So it feels more like the show to
It's
me.
almost like yeah, season one and two are like a prologue.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
this is where it's like we're into it now. This is
And the
happening.
heart that it was in this episode, I feel like had
Yeah.
been, it wasn't really there in The Walking Dead before this. It was more bleak, and now this episode had a lot of heart. So
Yeah.
yeah, I loved it.
I thought I usually have timeline, but I thought it would be interesting to do timeline before we talk about the episode because we're
Mm,
coming to it from a season break.
cool.
So this episode is set on day 294 of the apocalypse. So about 210, no, 230 or so days since Rick woke up. So for context, season two ended on day 83. So 211 days have passed, which is about 30 weeks. So Laurie's about 34, 35 weeks pregnant
Oh
here.
my God.
I know, according to the wiki, this is June, roughly. We're now getting into the point in the timeline where other things in the Walking Dead universe are happening and being slotted in. So if we take the wiki timeline to be canon, 1 month earlier, Negan's Here's Negan arc concluded. So the Saviors are somewhere being started up at this very point. They're about a month
Mm,
old. On day 224, so 2.5 months before, the Commonwealth was established. So Yumiko's brother Tomi has lied about his job and been assigned to be a cake baker, and Maxine slash Stephanie has gotten her role as Pamela Milton's assistant. Interestingly, the Commonwealth was established on my birthday. I didn't know that. 5th of April, Commonwealth Day. And also in this period, Woodbury is established, and Dwayne has been bitten, and Morgan has started to lose it a little bit. So a
Oh,
lot
wow.
happened in the wider
Yeah.
universe as well, coming into the.
Yes. That's interesting. I can't believe that much time has passed. That is a weakness of this episode, in my opinion, that they were going around in circles this whole time.
Yeah, if we're to believe the timeline, they've been going around in circles for 7 months.
Yeah, that
And
doesn't
they
make any
do,
sense.
I would say the episode does, it pays its dues in trying to make us understand and believe why, but I'm still a bit like,
It
it's
feels
more,
Fear the Walking Dead to me.
yeah, a little bit. It's also that they've not noticed the prison, which feels even stupider
Yeah,
when you look at the end of season 2 and it's like, boom,
it's
boom,
right across the river.
boom.
But you said, you pointed out that didn't look like anything like the prison ended up looking
No,
like.
maybe it was
And so
another one.
my headcanon is that's a whole different prison.
I think they hint later in the season that the prison was so overrun nothing could be done with it. And I wonder if it's as the group gets better, they're more able to come back
Oh,
and
yeah.
do it.
You could
But
say
they
that
don't
too.
read it like that. They read it as Rick being like, "Oh my God,
It
there's a
just
prison."
does look like a different
Like,
place too.
yeah,
But I mean, the thing about the herds where they're looking at the maps and they're blocked off, it felt like Fear the Walking Dead did a lot, where there's this some abstract thing that's off screen that's preventing you from getting
yeah,
somewhere, and it's a little dubious. They did that so much in Fear, and then to know that it was for that long, and then for the rest of the series, that never really happened quite like that. I mean, there were
yeah.
herds sometimes getting in the way, but not to the point where they were trapped in this one location. So I feel like the writers realized, oh, maybe that wasn't such a great idea.
Mhm. And the timing is, I don't know. I guess I'll talk a bit about the cold open because I feel like that's the thing everyone remembers about this episode because it's brilliant. It's a really good bit of screenwriting in that nothing is said. But there is this moment where they sort of I think Laurie's bump is the time reveal. Is this is how much
Oh
time has
yeah.
passed. But there are some other clues like Herschel looks more haggard. I feel like Rick should have had more of a beard at this point. He still looks a bit too well groomed, but maybe they've
Mm-hmm.
found a razor.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose the confuser that the uh producers will have had to deal with as Chandler Riggs is clearly 2 or 3 years older than he was in season 2.
Oh yeah.
Like he's shot up a little bit. So I think they're relying on Laurie's pregnancy to kind of reveal the time that has
Mm-hmm.
passed. But it is a little like, really? That long? Really? 7 months? Okay.
And especially what I hate. So not only that, maybe I'll get all the negativity out at the beginning here, but that it's ridiculous that they've been going around in circles for 7 months, but also that Rick and Lori's relationship seems to be like maybe a week or two after we saw them last, as far as where they would have been emotionally, not 7 months. Like if they're still that bad 7 months later, then and she's like, we really should talk. I'm like, you didn't talk for 7 months. Come on.
I can kind of believe it, to be honest. Like I genuinely like Rick is he's bad in this episode in terms of their relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
I felt very sorry for Laurie in this episode. Like I found that really hard to watch, but I could something so fundamental breaks between the two of them in the season 2 finale. And I do sort of wonder, you're suddenly in this really claustrophobic group of people where you're literally just every day trying to find somewhere to survive. There's not really time to talk or to kind of address that in a healthy way because there's no safe space or safe
Well,
basis
they
to
have
do
to
that.
sleep every night. I mean, I don't know. There's got to be time to go to the bathroom. There's time to eat. There's got to be time to have a 5 minute chat.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of buy it. I do buy it. I can buy Rick being the kind of person who just shuts off entirely. Like, I think there's something in Rick that's very broken at this point.
Absolutely. And I buy that too. And I don't approve of the way Rick is handling this at all, but it just doesn't feel like this is a 7 month old argument to me. It feels like this is a fresh argument and they're both really still sore over it, and they haven't processed it to where, I think Lori by this time would have already said, we need to talk about this thing. So this wouldn't be the first time that she would be
Yeah, I don't
saying,
think
we
this
really
is.
should talk. But
Yeah.
then she wouldn't say it that way if it wasn't the first time. It sounded like
As
this
I
was the
said
first time she was
last
addressing
Thursday
it.
and Friday before that and the month before that, we really should talk.
Yeah, something like that. Like we
Yeah.
need to. I don't know. It just felt the timing felt weird to me. But anyway, we'll get into the whole relationship.
I'll tell you who's aged wonderfully is the Hyundai. The Hyundai's looking great. It's like survived the winter, no bother.
Yeah, you were right. It's still there, still the star. I wonder if they're still getting paid. We'll see if it
Someone's even cleaned it. That car's cleaner than my car.
because what happened to the Hyundai? I don't even know. But once you see it like rolling over or crashing or something, you'll know that they're not a sponsor anymore. I wonder if there
Yeah,
was some agreement that even after they stopped being a sponsor, you weren't allowed to trash it.
I think it makes it to the end of this season. I'm going to
Mm,
keep a watch, but I think it makes it
yeah,
to the end of the
Hyundai
season. But it
watch.
did make me laugh that the group looked like sacks of shit, but this car comes up and it's like, oh, it's actually quite clean. I'm like,
I knew it.
um, yeah. But the cold open, aside from those things, is really cool. We open on this very extreme close up of a Zed's eye. It's a very
Yeah,
well
so
done
cool.
Zed, very
Yes,
character Zed there.
creepy.
We see the group burst in with this amazing silent opening where you see just how much of a group they've become. Carl has a silencer and can shoot really well now. I forgot there's just this amazing scene with Daryl and the owl, which I just really like. The owl looks so cool. Owls are
Hmm.
so weird. If you, like, they're mostly leg, but you don't see the legs because of how their feathers
Yeah,
are. It's like creepy ass owl showing its leg.
there's something where somebody pulled up the feathers and it was just these big long legs.
It's so creepy. But it's great, and they have owl for dinner, so R.I.P. that owl. Everyone's looking rough, and then there's this whole thing with Carl and the dog food. So, like, what does Carl's dog food mean in this? It means that they're very hungry. They're
Yeah.
quite desperate for sustenance, but they're not desperate enough yet. Or Rick has it's clear that Rick has a point of pride about his son not eating dog food, which is understandable. And we see that Glenn and Maggie are sharing little bits of food, and I think Laurie's eating like some peanut butter or something. So it's not the worst we see the group get. Like there's points further
I
down the
think it's
road
ridiculous. I
that
think
he
it's so
throws the dog food
stupid.
away.
Yeah, like they're hungry. They don't even need to be starving. Fucking eat it. It's the zombie apocalypse. I don't know. I mean, I understand what they were going for. That
Yeah.
Rick's like, no, we're not that bad yet. I don't want to stoop to that. Whatever. It's fucking meat and just eat it. Like, who
Yeah.
cares that there's a dog on the label? I read up on it a little bit, and it's not nutritionally made for best for humans. It's nutritionally made for dogs, but Cheetos are even worse, like
Oh yeah.
they
I
have
mean,
no
to be fair,
nutritional value, and it's better than nothing for sure. And there is sometimes some synthetic form of vitamin K I read that is okay for dogs, but not for people in high doses. But in an
yeah.
emergency, one can, not going to hurt you.
I think old-fashioned cat food used to have ash in it because the cats need like because they would usually eat bones, like they need that kind of like I don't know,
Oh yeah, that's a different
calcium.
story.
But now,
Yeah.
like the fancy ass food my cats get, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is better than what I am currently eating. Like it looks like legit proper anyway. So yeah. But this was clearly not like gourmet tiny cat tins. But yeah, Rick's
I'd be pissed if I was Carl. I'd be like, Dad, I'm hungry.
listeners at home, Bodhi's just watching to the background, just chewing on a dog
Yeah,
bone.
yum, yum, yum. He just gets right down with the cats.
He does. I liked the way that Rick throwing the can, everyone kind of flinches, and it's clear that his mood is still kind of the group is kind of in his thrall in terms of his anger and his tension.
Hmm.
Um, and then T-Dog spots the Zeds coming and they hot foot it out the back into the kind of little caravan that they've made up with the Hyundai, the estate car, and Daryl's motorcycle.
I just checked, by the way. Here, I'll have my iPad speak the
Amazing.
pronunciation because we're all saying this car name differently.
Okay.
But here,
Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Hyundai,
Yeah,
not Hyundai.
that's what I thought it was. Yeah, it looks like
Hyundai.
Hyundai because there's a Y
Hyundai.
in there. But
Hyundai. Okay, well, clearly
if you
our
care, it doesn't
sponsorship
really matter that much.
Our sponsorship deal with Hyundai's gone out the window, so sorry about that. I was looking forward to getting a new car. And as before they speed away, Maggie grabs a very useful axe, which I thought was going to be the thing that they did the amputation with, but they don't. They do it with the hatchet. Um, but I wondered if it was a nod to what's about to happen with her dad's leg. But I think the main
Wait, you thought what was gonna? speed.
Maggie stops to grab an axe from a wood pile before they
Okay.
hop in the car, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, and then I was like, oh wait, no, it's a hatchet later in
Hmm.
the episode. But yeah, we see the group have come on. Maggie's very much part of the kind of fighting force.
Oh, very much.
Carl's
Yeah.
shooting Laurie,
Hmm.
Carol, and Herschel, we find out later in the episode, have stepped up as well. But they're kind of in the background of this one. And yeah, it's a masterful way of showing how powerful silence can be and what you can show in group dynamics without relying too heavily on dialogue.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think it felt like, I don't know. I thought about Glenn Mazzara a lot watching this episode. I think he just really wanted to come out with a bang with his
Mhm.
first, this is the first full season as showrunner.
Yeah,
He
it's a goodie.
nailed it.
Yeah,
So
really.
my first one is a similar vein. It's just called Badassery.
Nice.
And we remember this episode with that scene, but there's badassery throughout. But I'll go through my notes on that scene first. So I think one of the points is, that some time has passed where they haven't had food or shelter after the farm. So they've been forced to deal with the zombies and they become more effective fighters. And that it's in a way old hat to us after 11 seasons, but I don't know. This scene is right up there with any badass scene in all of Walking Dead still, because they're working together so effectively,
Yeah.
and just because of the artistry of how they presented it and the silence and everything. But still, like, they know now how to do all this stuff, and it was just really thrilling though when it aired, because we hadn't seen anything that came later. So it's like, oh wow, this is so cool. They figured it out.
They're leveling up.
Yeah. And they're operating particularly quickly, quietly, lethally, and effectively as a team. And and Carl, like, interesting, as you said, to see him as part of it. So I feel like it's Glenn Mazzara saying the show is badass now in a way that it hasn't really been the focus of the show before. Before, it felt a little more like a soap opera with some horror mixed in, but now it's like, look at what these awesome characters can do, And I think it helped change the feel of the show, where viewers became hungry for more badassery like this afterwards.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and so just, you covered the scene well, so I'll move on. But the new opening I like better personally than the season 1 and 2, the credits.
Yeah, it becomes more of an ensemble with the names rather than picking out faces and things like that. You don't, and it's pulling focus away from the kind of love triangle element of the first 2 seasons.
Yeah. But I just thought too, it's the first 2, and maybe listeners or you don't agree with this, but I just think it's kind of boring, and it's all like yellowy, and I just feel like it's unattractive and not that exciting. There's a couple of good images in there, but this is creepy and moody. The lighting is interesting. It's more active. The zombie eye is creepy, and there's the arrow, which starts to show The Walking Dead's growing obsession with iconic objects that represent characters. It's another way that this episode feels more like what Walking Dead became, because they're realizing that it's Daryl, that Daryl's become this fan favorite character. Another badass thing is first Denai Guerrera as Michonne.
So good.
I won't talk too much about it, but just the way that she slices through a zombie and then flicks the blood off of her, the tip of her katana after she makes a kill. And the pets with the missing arms are pretty badass too, even though I think they make no sense, but they're cool to look
it's
at.
vibes. Michonne's just vibes, man. It's
Yeah.
badass vibes.
Yeah, her whole like outfit and her hair and her demeanor and everything. She's great. Then when they've already taken all the zombies out in the yard and they're pushing into the like courtyard of the prison where they see the Zeds in the riot gear. That was just badass. A lot of hand-to-hand killing and slicing through their heads. And one scene that really stands out in this episode is the one where Maggie goes in under the chin and then she's got her eyes light up. Did you see that?
It's a meme in the wild. And there's a gif of that I've seen people use, and I saw it. I was like, GIF in the wild.
And it's a badass moment. And they are often doing hand-to-hand knifing of zombies after this. And we saw a little bit before, but I don't know if we saw very much where they just walk right up to a zombie and knife it. And here they're thrilled by it, but it just becomes a day in the life later down the road. But right now it's super badass. And then that one Zed whose whole face skin comes off and is and it looks like the tar man from Return of the Living Dead, which I think might have been on purpose. And then Rick stabs it and cuts its head in.
I ate like a very juicy nectarine over the sink today, and I was thinking about that when I watched that, and I was just like, "Oh, I don't feel
while
so
you were
good."
watching it.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, the skin. Oh no, never mind. I've got one left. I'm probably not going to eat it." Yeah.
So I think the badassery is great. I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, pun intended. It makes the show feel cooler and I think it's one of the things that really propelled The Walking Dead to become this record-breaking hit that it was. I think without this focus on badassery, it would not have been as big of a hit. And I think Glenn Mazzara, who took over from Frank Darabont, should probably get a lot of credit for this. But also, I personally didn't always like it when viewers would like trash characters who weren't always badass. And I want the full range of human behavior, people to be messy and flawed and too scared to do the best thing sometimes, or I don't want a cheesy action adventure show. You need it to have groundedness, humanity, heart. But all in all, I really do think Walking Dead rode that line really well for the most part over the years. They had both,
I think about this a lot in terms of like, I've probably spoken about this on the pod before, but there are two other things in my life that I enjoy. One, only two. I don't like anything else. No, two things that stand out to me. Big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, even though it's ridiculous. I know it's crap. Nobody write in and tell me it's crap. I know it's crap.
I bet you most people like it too.
Yeah, and the other thing is I don't personally play, but Peter is a big D&D person. So there was this article came out a couple of years ago in one of it might have been Vulture or something. I should find the link about reading the Fast and Furious as one long D&D campaign. And something that happens in long running D&D campaigns that I didn't know about till like last year is that you level up. So like it's an achievement for a party when they reach a point where they go to the next level, because it means they unlock more spells, they are able to do more things, they get more power. And I sort of
more strength.
It was a really interesting way of reading Fast and Furious, because like, for those of you who have not seen it, in film 1 they're like stealing DVD players. In film like 10 or whatever, they're in space. Like it's not a believable trajectory. These people gain superpowers. And one of the things that comes up in relation to The Walking Dead sometimes is that by the time you get to season 10 or 11, everyone's almost a superhero. Like they've all had to adapt and level up.
And it does make sense to an extent that if you survive that long, you would be desensitized and you would know how to handle them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this to me feels like the first big level up for our group. It's like, and I will confess, I was like sitting moaning to myself, going, fucking Laurie's doing nothing. And then she did start shooting and shooting quite well. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And so like, that's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah. Points to Laurie. That whole level up concept, when you have kids, you see that like every once in a while, it's like, oh, wow, Bodhi leveled up. Suddenly he's more sophisticated, or he just seems, and it happens in spurts. So it does feel like you're watching a video game and all of a sudden the person's head glows and they're like more capable or whatever.
Yeah, I noticed this with my niece. Occasionally, like we'll get a picture and I'm like, oh, she's like different now. Like she doesn't look like what she used to. She's the same kid, like, and we love her, but she looks different. Like she's like grown up, or she's like
advanced,
not a kid anymore. Yeah, it's weird. It's really, cats and dogs don't really do that. They just stay.
No, they don't level up.
They're
much.
Just like,
they just kind of
we'll
mellow out
a bit, and then we'll mellow out. Like, yeah. So I think this is the group's first big level up as a group.
That's true.
Cool.
Cats come out pretty badass almost right from the start.
Yeah, they're like, I don't care what you think. Okay.
They could jump real high and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think it's your turn, right?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the Grimes couple, because I feel it's horrible to watch this episode for the two of them. Like, it's like Laurie is so scared, and that scene with her and Herschel where she's freaking out about like, what if the baby rips me apart?
Oh God,
scared of the baby not moving.
That's what I would be afraid of. Like my favorite zombie movie, Dawn of the Dead. The thing I don't like about it is there's a little zombie baby pregnant woman in there. Oh, it just kills me.
I think it's as well, there's so much shame and stigma around, even not in the zombie apocalypse, mothers talking about fear and about birth. Like there's this thing, particularly in like my mom's generation of like, you forget all about it when you're holding your baby. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay, but it's also okay to say that it was like traumatizing or not okay, or like I was scared of it because women, like
Hmm.
Laurie says in this episode, women did die in childbirth a lot before modern
And
men.
she's right. That's
She's
exactly what's going
completely
to
right.
happen.
And it comes up in a later episode, I think, that Laurie had to have a C-section for Carl. And I think traditionally, if you have a C-section for the first baby, it's very likely you'll have to have another one. So that
Hmm.
must be in the back of her brain. So she's terrified. She's scared she's going to turn. She's scared of hurting other people. And there's this part of me that thinks something Sarah Wayne Callies puts into this performance, or maybe I project onto her, is like there's part of Laurie I feel like feels like she deserves this because she feels so shitty about what happened with Shane and Rick and the fact that she
Yeah,
ended
she
up dead.
seems very guilty to
She
me in this
says,
episode.
it would have been better if I'd never made it off the farm. And Herschel is so kind to her in that scene when he says the baby doesn't care about any of that. The baby is the
Yeah.
thing.
And that's another thing where I feel, because I've been saying this episode feels like characters settling in, or different aspects of the show settling into what they became. And this feels like the Herschel we know, the kind old wise grandpa caring type, not the uptight farmer protecting his territory anymore.
Yeah, not being like a bit of like a sort of preachy douche.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
I just really felt for Laurie, and you see her try. I'm not going to say scared of Rick because he's not abusive in this. Well, he's not an abusive husband. That is not something I would say about Rick, but
It's not nice.
he's behaving in a pretty fucking horrible way in this episode. And the way I've always read it is essentially, were this not the zombie apocalypse, the Grimes would be having a divorce. Like, I do not see this couple staying together. I do not think that there is anything left there for the two of
If
them.
it's 7 months, that to me it just feels like a divorce. Like
Yeah,
it is
and
a
I think they
divorce.
even joke about it in a later episode about like, oh, what are we going to do? Get a divorce? And it's like, well, yeah, probably. Like,
Mm.
so, but when you see her try and go up to, because she still has that role of like trying to talk Rick down, and he just shuts her down. She talks about it's time to get the house in order. Can't we just enjoy this for a few days? He's so spiky with her. He says he doesn't want to be patronized. He's doing stuff. He's doing things. It's just so painful to watch, and it's such a horribly sad bit of Rick's arc this time from leaving the farm to Laurie's death, where he completely focuses not on the wrong things because he keeps the group going, but he never mends this rift with Laurie. And it's just, I find it really sad and really horrible to watch. Even though I'm not a huge Laurie fan, I love Rick and Michonne together. I just think it's a really, I don't know, it's just a really bleak thing to watch. And I think it's a very realistic dissolution of a relationship. Like there's two people who just don't
Yeah.
have anything left
And that's what I
together.
quote unquote like about it, is it feels like real people.
Yeah, it really does. And I just think Sarah Wayne Callies does such a good job of selling that vulnerability and that
Hmm.
sadness. And I think especially knowing how it ends up, you're just like, oh. Because I remember watching this, my whole thing thinking about Laurie in the early episodes of the season was I knew what happened in the comic, and I was like,
Yeah.
how are they going to do this? Like, is she gonna? And in a way, I think her dying in childbirth was the best way because it meant you didn't have to do the horrible shooting scene that happens in the comics, but it was still a
Yes.
bummer and it was still heavy as hell. And yeah, I just felt for her. I just feel like Rick's a real piece of shit to her in this episode and it doesn't improve and it's a bummer. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
Both can be true. He can be leading the group into better places, but he's taken his eye off the ball for showing love and care. But I think ultimately there isn't much love and care there anymore, and that's even sadder.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he doesn't love her. Maybe, who was it? It was Jenny Ryan who
Mm,
said maybe Rick doesn't love Lori, and maybe he didn't love Lori, or maybe he did, but now he doesn't.
mhm.
And that's okay. You can
That's
fall
a,
out of love with somebody, but you
yeah.
shouldn't treat him like shit.
No, and I don't think Laurie could have done. I mean, Laurie can't change what has happened, and it's clear that you know what I mean. I don't think I don't think her regret is in question from what she's told Rick or the way she's behaved. And yeah, it's a bummer. It's a
Hmm.
bummer. Probably get loads of mail now from Laurie haters being like, she's a bitch. And I'll be like,
I think I listened to Renee's message, and she's like, don't usually feel for Lori, but I do in this episode,
Oh,
so.
okay, cool. Okay, if Renee's
So
feeling it, then I feel like
yeah,
fine.
we'll get to that. But I'll do my Rick and Lori point too. I mean, I love that it's the famous stuff and things, and it
Yeah.
became a thing about Rick, and it's like a lot of famous lines, it's not exactly how we remember it. Like Darth Vader, we always think of him saying, "Luke, I am your father," but he actually says, "No, I am your father."
Yeah.
In Casablanca, Humphrey Bogart never said, "Play it again, Sam." He said, "Play it, Sam."
So I had a feeling, and I don't know if I'm right, I'm Googling it right now. I think he says it again. I think he says it again when they're on the.
Oh, stuff and things. He actually does say
I
that.
think he does.
Okay.
Because
Maybe
I had
so.
the.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We need to keep an eye on this because I had the same thing where I was like,
I don't think so, but maybe he does.
we'll
I
figure it
think.
out.
I mean, maybe he does. I don't think so, but maybe. But I do feel like this is the moment that where we because it really hits. He's like, "I'm doing stuff, Lori. Thanks. Isn't that enough?" And that's like, what a dismissal. Like he's like doesn't even say what he's doing, and it's so ridiculous.
It is such. It's just
funny.
such a fucking snub.
He
It's
flipped
like,
her off, really.
thanks. Like,
but here's the thing. So last we saw Rick and Lori, he was in freak out mode after having killed Shane, and that was fucking rough, right? She basically told him to do that, and then he did it, and then she fully rejected him and shot a lot of hate his way. And I totally understand just being wrecked by that, like, oh my God, I killed my friend and it was because you came and Lady Macbethed me and now you're rejecting me. My friend's dead. Like, what the fuck, So I could see that being the end of a marriage right there. And I think he shut down. He can't deal with his emotions clearly. So he's focused on action. His top priority is finding a secure place to stay, and he indicates that it's about because she's about to give birth. So he's looking out for maybe her, maybe just the baby. You don't know. But then the first thing he notes about why they need to push into the prison is that it might have an infirmary. So he's very focused on, I think the baby or Lori are his top priority, but it's all about action and not dealing with the emotions of it.
yeah.
And when she wants to talk about what they've been avoiding talking about, well, we don't know for sure exactly what that is, but it seems like because they had this moment that we saw at the end of the season and then they just haven't been together since then, and that's probably what she wants to talk about. And Lori says she comes to him and in this moment because he's wanting to push further into the prison immediately, and she's saying, "No, I think we should rest," and he takes that as a criticism. And this trauma that he's having is from that criticism that I just talked about, which killing Shane. So now he's super sensitive to any criticism. And having been in relationships, I can totally understand that, where you're not available to hear constructive criticism or something that's not aimed at calling you a bad person, but really just, we need to address this thing. And then I've taken stuff like that as you're a bad person, and I'm like not as open to it, but, so then she's saying she wants to talk about what's going on and about what things we've been avoiding. You know what? You want to talk to Herschel. I'm doing stuff, Lori, things. Isn't that enough? I'm still here. So I think he's trying to say, I am helping, I'm like, quit criticizing me. I'm being the man, I'm leading, I'm protecting us. And isn't that enough for you? And so, anyway, I think that they should both talk to Herschel because they need marriage counseling, but then she's like, feeling guilty about what she put Rick through. I put him and Shane at odds. I put the knife in his hand. Did she actually give him a knife, or is that just a metaphor?
It's metaphor, I think. Yeah,
okay.
I think she's studying her Shakespeare. Yeah.
So even though I'm trying to like get in Rick's head, understand how somebody could be like this, as I said, what I like about it is it feels real. I don't approve of how he's handled it. He's had all winter to calm down and work it out. And at this point, either he wants to be with Lori or he doesn't. And either way, he should talk to her about that and be a good human being and tell her what he's feeling. And if he doesn't love her anymore, tell her that, just work it out. And he's a big fucking baby. And if he was like this at home before the zombie apocalypse, not talking, then it totally makes sense that that conversation he had with Shane, oh yeah, she's frustrated at me because I don't talk enough. Well, if you're like this, then yeah, I'd be frustrated with you too, you asshole. and not only that, he seems a bit sketchy still, like in a way that he never did until the very final episode of last season. And I wonder if that's a choice that Andrew Lincoln made, that Shane changed Rick energetically. And I think so, yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about like the concept of killing someone and like killing a living person,
especially if it's your friend.
Yeah, I've made that sound like I'm thinking about just on a daily basis.
Yeah,
like,
I might try it out and see what it's like.
But I think it's in the Harry Potter books. There's the concept of when you kill someone, it splits your soul into, and that hangs on a lot of things about like, do you believe in a soul? Do you believe in this? But it's a concept that's always really stuck with me because it's like the most inhumane thing you can do of taking life takes something away from you and it splits you in a way that you can't ever get back. Like it's something that fundamentally cracks the foundation of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I do sort of think Rick's done that. I do sort of think he's damaged his soul. He's damaged a part of him that he never fully gets back.
No. And it changed him, and maybe he integrated it in a healthy way by the end, maybe, but he's still changed. And I told him on stage, Andrew Lincoln, that something of like, the way that Rick evolved over time into darkness, it really impacted me because he changed from a person that I felt safe around to someone more like one of my stepfathers who was not a good person. And they were looking at me like, why are you saying this on a panel? Like, you sounds like you might need therapy, but
they're just like, that's nice. Would you like
that's nice. Right, yeah, exactly. Oh boy. Sometimes that stuff goes well, sometimes not so much. I think it was okay. But anyways,
you have a moment, other times no.
But then when they go to push even further, like I think they got into that one cell block, but Rick insists that they push further into the prison, and he gives a look at Laurie, and I don't remember the next few episodes, so I was thinking maybe that was the last they saw each other, but you're saying it's not, huh?
It's not. It doesn't get much better. It's not the last.
I wouldn't think so.
But it doesn't. Yeah,
it's not the last time.
Yeah, we've not forgotten a like, I don't know, a rekindling or anything like that.
No, I know that. Yeah. I mean, I remember for sure that they left it where he was still unavailable to her, and I felt like at some point he was going to crack and realize, okay, I need to chill out and open up to her and figure this out. But he just presumed that he would have time to do that, and I think not having had that ends up driving him nuts, where we see her ghost. And I think that makes sense now that I think about it, because ghosts are about unfinished business, And
I think as well, there was part of him that maybe couldn't see the wood for the trees with the baby, and he never stopped to think that maybe they'd have the baby but not Laurie. Like, I don't know, I wonder if there was part of him that's like, once the baby's here, we'll sort it out. Once that thing is done, we'll sort it out. He must have known there was a big risk that she wasn't going to make it, but yeah, maybe he didn't let himself think that, like,
Yeah, probably. I could see that. I mean, he seems very good at compartmentalizing and not letting himself go to certain places and just focusing on whatever task needs to be done.
Yeah. It's Blake for the Grimeses.
Yep, it is. But I think it's a good story. I think it's, I don't approve of how Rick is handling it. I feel bad for Laurie, but I think it's a good story.
Yeah. Okay, for me, I guess Andrea's still on it. No, I'm joking.
All right, next. No.
Andrea, super improved by being around Michonne. 10 out of 10. Totally takes the sting out of it. It's mainly about establishing that Michonne is a badass, that the two of them have become quite close over the winter. They've had just as much time as the group has, so they've been together for about 6 or 7 months. I thought a lot about Michonne and Andrea's relationship because we don't really see much of it on the screen, and Andrea is Michonne's way into the group, and it's an interesting kind of loss that I don't think they really talk about that much. I think Michonne mentions Andrea a couple of times as the show goes on, but I like what I like what the actors did with kind of playing that closeness and the kind of push and pull of Andrea being quite stubborn, being very sick, kind of doing the gone git thing of trying to make Michonne leave. Um, and we see them setting off into the woods with the pets in tow. And we rewatching know where that path's going to take them, which is kind of exciting because it's taking them straight to Merle and to the governor.
Oh yeah,
But
Woodbury.
it's watching it for the first time. I remember being like, "Oh, what's
And
going to happen
I
now?"
love that they're focusing on Michonne refusing to leave Andrea, even though
Yeah.
Andrea's like, I'm basically get out of here, save yourself, leave me for dead. Michonne refuses to. That comes back, little tiny spoiler, but in The One Who Live,
Hmm.
Michonne is so anti leaving anyone,
Yeah.
and I wondered if they looked back on this scene and took that into her story on purpose or if it's just a coincidence.
I always saw Michonne as being like, one of my stepsisters is very hard to win over, but once you've won her over, she's like loyal for life. Like unless you do something really, really terrible, but
Mm.
she's loyal for life. And I've always viewed Michonne kind of like that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like once you're there, she will like fight to the fence for you. But before that,
You got to earn
she's
it.
there, and you
Yeah.
just get the sense that Andrea and her have really hit that point of
Hmm.
loyalty and being together. And yeah, it's good to see them. Good to see. Good to have Michonne on the screen. It feels like the group is complete now.
Yeah. And I feel like when Michonne first came in, she didn't talk all that much and she looked mad a lot. And I remember some viewers didn't respond to her all that well
Mm.
in the first few episodes because of that. She just seems like a one note character or something. But
Mm.
even in this episode, she's showing great kindness and she has a moment, like a warm moment between Andrea. And so I think the seeds are there in
It's funny because
this
I was
episode
thinking
seed.
about that because the last time we saw her was in The Ones Who Live, and a lot of that is about, without spoiling it, her great love for Rick and her great love for her family and this
Yeah.
real softness that here you just can't imagine. And I
Yeah.
noticed actually one of the things, I don't know that this is deliberate, but when Laurie and Carol are settling into their cell. I think that's the cell where in season 4 Michonne bonds with Judith. There's that moment where she's very bothered by the baby crying, and then she kind of melts a little bit, and you see her and Judith actually start to form a bond. And I was like, it's where Judith gets her mama. So that
Mm.
made me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that. All right. I'm going to talk about some happiness and lightness because,
Yay.
as I said, I thought there was so much heart in this episode and little moments of joy and triumph and connection,
Absolutely.
sometimes with really moving music that I'm always a sucker for if it's
The
done
music
well.
was great this episode. I
Yeah.
thought they did horror strings really well as well. There was a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
old school horror
Eeriness. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
I'm just going to go through some moments, these nice moments, like a little moment of triumph after they cleared all the Zeds in the yard. They all just seem so proud of themselves and they're like,
They should
something went
be.
right. And yeah. And after 7 months of apparently being right across the river from this place, but not
Yeah.
noticing it,
And months of not noticing the prison.
and T-Dog laughs and woo, and Rick smiled at one point during it, just looking at how well it was going. And I love it. They have to get some wins sometimes, and that was
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Just Carol complimenting Rick. She's Rick's gotten us a lot further than I thought he would. I'll give him that. Shane could have never done that. Well, we don't know, maybe, but it was nice to hear her after what she was saying last time.
Yeah, Carol's having a great time this episode. She's like a
Yeah,
new one.
that's the next thing. Like another character settling in more to what they're going to be for the rest of the series is Carol. She's there's a shift. She's more playful. She's more comfortable with herself, more fun, and that lasts more or less for the rest of the series. I mean, she has a lot of trauma, but she's got that personality there, and I think, just trying to make sense of it, she's free of Ed and she's had time to grieve for Sophia, and now for the first time in many, many years, she can live for herself,
Yeah.
and that just has an impact on her being. In a
Yeah, and
really
like
nice way.
Herschel, we learn is training her up as kind of an assistant, and Rick talks about her having done gun training and being quite a
Hmm.
good shot now. Like she's getting a chance to do her own thing, to actually learn and contribute. It's nice. It's really
When I
nice.
remember, I think she's still not great, if I remember right,
Yeah,
this
there's a funny
season.
bit where she's like, sorry.
Yeah, here, yeah, that. Maybe that's what it was like. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, but even that, the way she handles that, it's like she's not really apologizing to the level she probably should be.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Sorry.
funny. Sorry about that. I almost killed you.
Sorry. Oops.
But then here, when she's got a pain in her shoulder, and Daryl gives her a massage, and she seems impacted by it in some way,
Yeah.
turned on or moved or something. She probably hasn't been shown any affection in also many years. Who knows if she ever has. And she says, pretty romantic, screw around. And he goes, pfft. And then he goes, I'll go down first. And she goes, even better, which was a sex joke. I don't know if everyone caught that. And he goes, stop it. And it's hilarious. And I think probably most people just write it off as her completely joking, not at all serious, and maybe so. But I also know that a lot of times how people test for interest in a low risk way is to joke. And then if there's no interest, you can just, oh yeah, I was just joking. And we saw last season that she seemed to be like looking at him with big eyes and everything and saying, I need a good man. And I think their relationship is still new and they're still figuring out what it is. And maybe this was like, okay, we've figured it out right here. It's not this,
Yeah, it's not that. I wondered if it was a recurring joke with the two of them that she'd maybe tried something. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do agree. Yeah.
But we don't see much of that after this, if I remember right.
They also joke about little Shane. So clearly everyone knows that the baby is Shane's.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love that.
Got quite the appetite.
This is kind of a long item, but I really love when Beth and Maggie start singing The Parting Glass.
Oh, it's so good. If anyone listening is a fan of that song, there's an amazing, I think it's from the lockdowns. There's a version of Hosier singing this on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
So good.
There's also a version of Lauren Cohan and Emily Kinney, a produced version that you can find on probably Spotify and Apple Music. But that's a Scottish song. Do you know it?
It's Irish.
It's Irish. Oh, well, yeah, I read it was Scottish, but it's in Ireland. That's what I read in YouTube.
I associate it with being Irish, but I could let me just have a wee peek here. And well, it's not one I was familiar with. The parting go, oh, Scottish. There you go. But it's also been sung in Ireland and remains popular. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So what I mean, there. The bleeding over of Scottish people into Ireland and Irish people into Scotland is substantial, so it does make sense. Yeah. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia entry, but yeah, no, you're right. It is a Scottish song. Huh.
I mean, I also found out that the English were the first to refer to football as soccer, but then somehow that became an American thing. But anyway, so it's a joyous song, and it's a little sad, but it's just beautiful, and it's about the bittersweetness of saying goodbye. It's often sung at the end of a gathering of friends, but with hope for the future. And it was just really lovely. And Emily Kinney is a musician, and I recommend checking her stuff out too. And she used to play concerts at Walker Stalker Con that were just really good. And so that's another very nostalgic moment for me, this scene.
I miss Emily Kinney. Like watching these episodes, I'm like, you know what? Beth was never my favorite character, but I do miss her, kind of. I did know it's nice to have her back on screen and part of the group. I think it's just nice to see Maggie with family and loved ones, She loses a lot.
Yeah, she loses them all. She ends up with Negan in New York. I love the moment where Carl seems to have a crush on Beth.
Oh.
And he's in the cell talking about how soft the beds are, and he's gonna check the one on top, and Herschel comes in and goes, "You find your cell yet?" And he goes, "Oh no, sorry." And then Herschel and Beth smile at each other, and she kind of wiggles her head and giggling, "Oh, he likes me. I don't know." It's so funny. We see Glenn and Maggie sitting on the bunk, and he's checking her for scratches, and she's just looking at him adoringly, and soulful music playing. And then you see Carol and Lori sitting in their cell smiling at each other, and it's just all so sweet. I can hardly take it. It makes me miss the heyday of The Walking Dead. So much heart in this show.
I know.
And then last, just Andrea, Michonne taking care of Andrea is just really nice. And Andrea being selfless too, encouraging Michonne to go on without her, So Andrea and Lori in this episode, and they're still getting positive points.
Yeah, I think so. I've got a couple of ones to add.
Mm.
Laurie says she hasn't felt this good in weeks
Yeah.
when I don't know that she's telling the truth, but I think she's probably feeling better. I think she's probably freaking out on the inside.
Yeah. I think she's scared too. Like, I don't even know if she would feel as guilty as she does if her life wasn't in danger. And, what I mean?
I mean, she must feel like she has a death sentence compared to
Yeah.
everyone else.
Right.
When Glenn finishes his owl, he says, just like mom used to make, and throws the bone away, which I thought was quite funny. Um, I don't know if these aren't so much funny as nice. T-Dog has an idea about the water supply that they actually use throughout seasons 3 and 4, about digging a canal and making sure the water is clean so that they can use it within the prison. I thought that was really cool. I hadn't realized it was him that came up with that.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. I want T-Dog to have an impact.
Right. I mean, he's such so little to do in season 2. And Herschel mentions seed and planting, which is lovely because we do see that come to fruition, and I think it's where the title of the episode comes from.
Part of it. I feel like it's multiple levels. It's also just the seed of the future of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Discontent, yeah, but because they're at the prison, but also there's a seed growing inside Lori, so maybe it works on multiple levels.
It was a bit like, oh, we get Judas in, yes. Which is probably not the right way to look at what's about to happen. We also have Carl and Beth when they're having the chat. Carl says, remember the storage units. So we get a sense of like they've stayed in some pretty gross places over the last 7 months. So I wonder what the storage unit situation was. So yeah. There clearly must have been like weeks or like a couple of weeks or stuff where they were in the one place but then got run out or whatever. So yeah, pretty grim.
I'm just imagining that show where they get to like raid a storage unit.
Oh yeah. Excellent.
Okay, what do you got next?
I liked how smart the group have gotten. Not just badass, but smart. Like there's loads of little details in this episode that I think speak to how adept they've become at dealing with things. So when they stop, Rick says 15, you're on point. That's the first line of this episode, which we can infer means 15-minute break, you're the one on watch. He says that to Carl. So clearly they've got into this habit of taking a break, making a plan, and then moving forward. We see them using those, I think they're called calipers, the clips to like open and close gates. We see them using bolt cutters. A lot of this is just common sense, but honestly, in zombie shows, you don't always see it. So I'm just like glad to see that they're carrying these things. They've got a tin opener, they're carrying bolt cutters, they've got calipers, like they're picking up things that are useful.
And I wonder if that's Kirkman's influence at all, because there was a lot of that in the comic, the practicalities of living in the apocalypse.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of our feedback things mentions that about how you keep warm in winter. But yeah, I think it's that kind of thing really, it just gives you faith that this group are actually really fucking smart. When they're through the fence, it's Maggie, Daryl, T-Dog, Glenn, and Rick in hand-to-hand combat. 3 of them in a circle going one-on-one with these zombies. Rick yells at T-Dog, don't break rank. And the reason T-Dog has broken rank is to grab a shield. Because they see that there's riot gear there, and that sort of changes their tactics a little bit. They do sort of address later why they don't continually wear riot gear, when Daryl's like, oh, we haven't needed it up to now, why do we need it now? But it is one of those things where I'm like, surely the riot gear would have been useful at other points.
Yeah.
But they
That's
close
stupid.
off more fences. It is dumb. They close off more fences.
I mean, one thing, this is meta and something meta affecting the story, but they probably just didn't want to have their characters in masks.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't.
They want to see them emote. Yeah.
Feel like the Mandalorian,
so Daryl has to come up with some, yeah.
Daryl's like, why would I have sleeves? That's stupid. And it's like,
yeah, exactly. It flex.
I'm like, I'd probably wear full armor in the zombie apocalypse. I'm such a wimp. I'd be like, okay.
I mean, it's smart. You don't want to get beat.
Exactly. So the group they get into the prison through this kind of just smart logical behavior. Rick manages to get the keys from the warden. Having keys is a really good idea. He has a set and Daryl has a set. There's not just the one set between the two of them. When they find the prison arsenal, we see that Herschel's also carrying a little medical bag when they go on their walk around the prison. Not that it helps him much when his leg gets bitten, but it's a cute detail. And I think it's also very clever, although it doesn't pay off really, that they're spray painting the way that they've come so that they can find their way back. It's
Yeah.
just these little details where I'm like, capable people can do
Yeah.
shit. Like it's not all magic or being a superhero.
It is, but then they like end up being surrounded in the what they call them the tombs in
The
the
tombs,
halls of
yeah.
the prison, and I'm like, well, you fucked up somewhere because
Yeah.
we probably should have handled that better somehow. Maybe trying
You
to lure
fucked
the
up.
zombies out or something, you know.
There's
I don't
always
want to.
one.
Yeah.
Always one. It was just nice to see the prison and
Yeah.
kind of C block before they sort of settle in and make it their own. I've also noticed I take notes for the podcast in Notion, little plug for Notion there, and I
Hmm.
always have a picture of the episode there, and I can see in Daryl's arrow arsenal, I think he's used some feathers from the owl on his arrows. There's a couple of really distinctive
Oh wow,
feathers. I'm like, oh, that's a cute
that is a
detail.
nice
I
touch.
hope that's
I
true.
love that.
And I
Yeah.
was thinking, how does he keep making arrows? But yeah, there you go. I will useful. So yeah, the
Nice.
kind of little practical details I thought were fantastic.
That's respect for animals. Like if I'm going to have to kill you, I'm going to use every part of
Going
you.
to use all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Herschel and T Dog's ideas about planting and water, I think that's just
Hmm.
excellent. Yeah.
Karen used to
10
love all that stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Karen would know what to do with water.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Herschel. So in that opening scene where they're scouring this house for supplies, they all come through the door one by one, and you see Herschel walk through at one point, and just seeing him with that beard and that
Mm,
look, it really hit me because that's how I remember Scott Wilson at all those Walker Stalker cons, and uh, it was just nice to see. And then I guess we already talked about it, but he really transforms into this sort of wise, caring, comforting person. And when he says to Lori, you know, she's like, I don't, what I put Rook through, I put him at Shane at odds. You know who doesn't give a shit about that? This baby. It was
yeah,
just so nice.
exactly.
And then they push into the prison, they get surrounded. And this whole time, I'm thinking, I guess this is the episode, right? Where he gets his leg out. There's only a few minutes left. Is it going to happen right now? And then he stepped near this quiet one and got bit. I'd forgotten that's what happened. And I
Yep.
can't remember what we thought at the time. Did we think he's a goner? Because we didn't know. This is where we
Didn't
also
know.
learn another sort of tenet of The Walking Dead, that if you get bitten and it's an extremity and you chop it off in time, you won't turn,
Hmm.
which had an impact through the rest of the series. I was trying to think, yeah, because we saw a lot of, amputees, but it turns out most of the amputees were for some other reason, not because they got bit, like Aaron and
Yeah.
Carl's eye and even Merle. But
Mhm.
Tyrese, they got his, I think, arm off, but it was too late.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we always thought that though, like it was always like, if someone got bitten, they made a point to show that it was on the neck or torso, and you were like, okay, nothing can be done about that,
I feel like Tyrese was like upper arm, so it was
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Close. Yeah.